Welcome back to the Better Late Than Never Club. I'm Beck.
And I'm Frost.
And tonight we're watching our third Oscar-nominated Best Picture hopeful for 2026.
Now, this one I'm really excited for.
Me too. It's Frankenstein.
And I gotta keep correcting myself. It's not Dracula. It's Frankenstein.
I think I've made it confusing for you because I suggested we start reading Dracula the other day. So we're sort of doubling down on the sci-fi, horror, fantasy, whatever.
That'll do it. Look, when we read this book, I think last year or maybe the year before, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I was not excited to see any of the films because while we were reading it, this film hadn't been announced. And I didn't really want to go back and look at any of the original, Frankenstein or Bride of Frankenstein. But this one, I saw the trailer for it and I was really excited.
Yeah? Guillermo del Toro got you hyped?
Who's the lead actor?
Well, do you mean the creature or Frankenstein?
Who plays Dr. Frankenstein?
You're jumping ahead in my notes, but I'll allow it because you're very cute. Dr. Frankenstein is played by Oscar Isaac.
Interesting.
Who you and I both know as Poe Dameron from the Star Wars.
Yeah. Because I saw him, and in the trailer, he was a really good fit for what I pictured as Dr. Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is going to be great. Like, if they just cast him well, and the vibe of the trailer was really good. And it's sort of interesting because with a film that is, an adapted story like this, where broadly speaking, the film, what the story is going to be. So it's more about how they tell it rather than what the story is. Yeah. So the trailer can give away as much as it likes. It would be sort of like remaking the Titanic. We all know how it ends, or at least I sure hope we do.
Yeah, well, that's a historical event. Slightly different.
Slightly different. But so with this, the vibe check of the trailer was really cool. And I was very excited. And we didn't watch it because life got in the way, I guess. But now I'm very excited.
Well, another reason, and this, again, jumping a little bit ahead, but this was a Netflix movie. So originally, Guillermo wanted to make this, and it was originally going to be a Universal Pictures movie, but then it didn't go ahead, and Netflix essentially revived it.
Interesting.
So it had only a limited theatrical release of 3 weeks. So this is mostly a streaming movie. If we're talking profits and stuff, it kind of... It's not... We can't really compare it in terms of things like profits because it makes money still being played on Netflix, and it did well. I think it was the 5th best debut.
But as opposed to a big Hollywood, which is $170 million spent aiming to make $300 million.
We can't tell because we don't know exactly how the margins come out on the end of Netflix, but safe to say I think it did well. It was a success by all measures.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's talk some more numbers. Let's get the nuts and bolts out of the way. So genre-wise, this is an American Gothic sci-fi drama. All expected genres there. Nothing out of the ordinary from what I know about the story. It is 2.5 hours long, so 150 minutes, which is on the longer side.
It's lengthy.
But that's not really that unusual these days, so I guess I'm not that surprised, given that it is a chunky book. There's a lot of content. In fact, I think I remember reading that originally Del Toro wanted to make this a trilogy of movies because just to really...
explore the content.
Exactly. Sink his teeth into the different perspectives that the book covers. Sure. Having read it, of course, the book does have different perspectives at different points.
Yeah, we get Dr. Frankenstein and we get the creature's story. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I think it's all more or less from Dr. Frankenstein's perspective, but it's his retelling of it through various stages of his life.
The creature is telling its story to Frankenstein at one point. Anyway,
and he's
we're
retelling.
Getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Oh. We're spoiler alerting.
We're Mary Shelley fans right here.
It's true. So, like I said, it was revived by Netflix. They gave it a budget of $120 million. So, good budget.
Pretty healthy budget, and limited release, about a few weeks in the cinema, and then it was to streaming. Of course, it is based on the 1818 novel by Mary Shelley, which we are fans of. We enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I don't think everyone, it is definitely a classic, so it's written with that particular style of language, but we both enjoy that. I mean, it's probably one of my top 10 favorite novels. Yeah. It's really up there.
Yeah. It reviewed well. It has about 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, that's, you can only trust the public so much, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe they wanted more monster, less Frankenstein.
Well, once again, much like, Sinners, this movie is produced, written, and directed all by Guillermo del Toro. So his fingers are in many pies for this film.
I like the idea that he wanted to bring this vision to film, written for screen.
It sounds like he's wanted to do it for like a long time as well. Like it's been in the works or in at least in his mind palace since like the 90s or something. Like
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to get to this stage where like I want some big wigs, Hollywood or, MGM or in this case Netflix, to sponsor me doing my pet project, which is just doing Frankenstein right.
Yeah. Well, seemingly he succeeded. Of course, you're not going to get everyone agreeing on that point because it is a classic piece of literature.
Imagine you haven't read the book and you only know like the Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein's take on it, where it's fundamentally quite different. It's quite what's that line in Beetlejuice? It's a very strong departure from the source material, shall we say?
Oh yeah.
So if this is quite close to the source material, I can imagine people not liking it because their association of Frankenstein is green guy with bolts on the side of his neck.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some imagery of the creature as it will.
I haven't.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, this is a completely blind reveal for me.
Well, that's exciting. Let's talk cast then, since we're talking about characters. We've already talked about Oscar Isaac.
Can I guess, is Skarsgård the creature?
No. You mean Alexander Skarsgård?
Yeah, Alexander Skarsgård.
No. I can see why you go for that. I'm not sure exactly how tall Skarsgård is. So, because you'd need someone tall, right? Because the creature, I think, is described in the book as quite...
Yeah.
Imposing.
Quite imposing in many dimensions.
Yeah. Giggity. Anyway, sorry. So the creature, when I first heard that this man was cast as the creature, I was surprised. Partly because he's quite young.
Oh.
And still relatively green in the acting sphere. So the creature is played by Jacob Elordi.
I don't know that name.
And I wouldn't expect you to, really, because the only thing I have seen him in is a Netflix movie called The Kissing Booth, which is like a teenage romance movie. But he is probably most famous for the TV show Euphoria, which is about teenagers in high school, but they're all played by like mid-20s, early 30s people that do a bunch of drugs and get into trouble and life is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a current TV show, although they've had a really long break between seasons. I haven't watched it. I'm not going to pretend to know much about Euphoria, but that is what Jacob Elordi is most well known for, I would argue. It kind of catapulted him from like he starred in a Netflix rom-com to, he is like, he's now up there with like the Timothée Chalamets of like, he's a serious actor.
Yeah. Young and upcoming.
He was also in Saltburn, actually.
Oh, yeah, we didn't see it. We didn't see that either.
Yeah. Again, I'd forgotten about that because I haven't seen it, so didn't register. But he is very tall.
Oh, that's
he is
good.
Australian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a monster.
What a monster, yeah. So I am very interested. I feel like this will be a really interesting test for me, personally. I'm sure other people have already established what his acting
chops
credits
are. Yeah.
But for me, this will be my first like, ooh, are you a serious actor?
Look, the real thing for me is when an Australian does a role like this, especially a role where a European accent is desirable, because the monster famously speaks French. Yes.
Right. Yeah, because he hides in... Anyway, yeah, we're getting really in the weeds about what
So it'd be really interesting if, because who's that Australian actress that plays Suicide Squad? Margot Robbie. I think she's great. Sometimes her Australian accent just really shines through. Yeah, so...
It's funny you should bring her up because there's a movie that's coming out literally within the week, I think in a few days, called Wuthering Heights, based on the book Wuthering Heights, another classic, right? It stars Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie. It's quite funny because they're playing like British people. I'm pretty sure Wuthering Heights is a British book.
Thing, yeah.
And they're both bloody Queenslanders playing, so there's been a lot of thoughts about their particular casting in that film because people are like, well, they both have iPhone face and anyway, whatever. It's a whole thing.
That's really funny.
So yes, Jacob Elordi plays the creature, a pretty important role.
You would say so given that, Frankenstein is arguably more about the creature than it is about Frankenstein.
Ultimately, yes. There would be no story otherwise, right? So then other people we have is Mia Goth. Now, she has acting chops. We haven't seen her in anything, but she's like the modern scream queen because she was in Pearl and X. They are like modern horror films that we haven't seen. She is the titular character in those, like she is the main actress.
Yeah, right.
And people think she's great. And so I'm excited to actually see her in literally anything. Then we have a few people who play sort of, I think, more side characters. We've got Charles Dance, who, of course, is Big Daddy Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
We have Christoph Waltz.
I imagine he's Mr. Frankenstein, my father.
I think so. I'm not sure. I guess we'll... Yeah. I try not to, like...
Yeah, no, I know
read too much. I just look for names that I recognize.
Yeah, I get it.
So we have Charles Dance. We also have Christoph Waltz, who, of course, plays that Nazi in Inglourious Bastards who's
yep.
Sniff out.
That'll probably be the friend.
He's old.
Christoph Waltz?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, I didn't... Maybe
he's Charles Dance's age, or maybe a bit younger than...
Yeah, he's a bit younger than Charles Dance.
He's definitely not Frankenstein's friend's age.
Maybe he's like the Frenchman in the family house.
Who knows? I'm just telling you names that I recognize.
Okay. I'm
not telling you who they play. We find that out by watching the movie.
Yeah.
Hold your horses.
Okay, I'm excited.
I can tell. The last name that I thought was interesting is Lars Mikkelsen, who I was like, that sounds familiar. And that's because his brother is Mads Mikkelsen.
I was going to say, yeah, Mikkelsen.
Of Hannibal and many other things fame. But I thought that was interesting as well. So there's other people, but those are the ones I recognize as always. I'm sorry if there's someone super recognizable that I just have never heard their name.
I mean, you're doing better than me.
Yeah. Not hard to do.
The bar is low.
The bar is in hell. So the last two things I figured we talk about is Guillermo del Toro, what else he's directed that we might recognize, of course. So that's Blade 2. I only bring that up because you brought up Blade really recently.
Yeah. And I've seen one of the Blade films. I might have seen more of them.
Yeah.
But it was when I was super young because the Blade films are quite old. Mm-hmm. So...
He also did Hellboy.
Oh, yeah.
I think maybe Hellboy 2.
Yeah, right.
Again, I haven't seen these movies.
It's like horror. They're both horror adjacent hero flicks, basically.
Sure. He also did Pan's Labyrinth, which is a movie that I feel like I should have seen but haven't.
Yeah, that's the kind of movie that we should make a podcast about how we haven't seen movies.
Yeah, no, it's on the list somewhere, I believe.
Yeah,
but
Pan's Labyrinth is the one with the hand with the eyes.
Correct.
And I also haven't seen it.
I'm almost certain. It's always because you know what I have seen? Labyrinth.
With David Bowie.
Correct, but I haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, I hear they're very different films.
He's also done Crimson Peak, which I believe has Tom Hiddleston in it. That is another like gothic, I think based on literature, kind of horror-y romance movie from the mid 2010s. He also did The Shape of Water. Now here we're getting into Oscars territory.
I have heard of that one.
Yes. Haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Let me be clear. But that one did win Oscars. I know that for certain. Lastly, the one movie I think of his that I have seen that he directed, Pacific Rim.
Oh, that's amazing. I really like that film.
Yeah, me too. It's a bit camp and a bit like on the nose. Not camp. That's maybe the wrong word. It's a bit... I don't know what the word is.
It's not too serious.
Yeah.
It's very much like if you tried to make an anime real life acted.
Sure.
In a lot of ways. And it probably is based on that. Who knows? Mm-hmm.
So that's our director.
Which, I'm excited for. I've heard the name a bunch. And
of course, yeah.
Of those films you've listed, I feel like I've seen Hellboy and I feel like I know enough about Blade. And I've seen Pacific Rim and I've enjoyed all of these films that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm. I also have seen a few interviews with Guillermo, and what I appreciate is that he just comes off as like a big nerd that loves what he does. And that to me is like endearing in and of itself. So I'm predisposed to enjoying his content, I think.
Yeah.
The last person I thought was worth mentioning is the person that does the music, the composer, the film.
Don't tell me it's Danny Elfman.
It's not. No. It's not a name that I recognize. But what I was most struck by was when I was looking through his filmography that he's done film music for and just how many movies I'd seen on that list, all that I recognized.
Interesting.
So it's a French guy called Alexandre Desplat. Not sure how to pronounce that, sorry. If I was doing it in my ochre accent, it'd be Alexandre Desplat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Alexandre Desplat.
Of course, yeah. The well-known composer.
Yeah, famous.
So this guy seemingly works a lot with Wes Anderson and Guillermo del Toro. So he did like Fantastic Mr. Fox, he did Grand Budapest Hotel, and a bunch of other, like all of Wes Anderson's modern stuff that in the last like few years.
Some of those are so whimsical, though.
Yeah. We also did Twilight New Moon and both the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows movies, 1 and 2, so like the last 2 in the series.
Yeah, right.
He also did The King's Speech, which is a totally different type of genre.
Yeah, very drama heavy.
And he's also done other Guillermo del Toro movies. So he did Shape of Water and maybe another Guillermo del Toro. But so this is a established composer that's done some pretty big movies. I thought it was also interesting that this year he also did the music for Jurassic World Rebirth, which is also nominated in this year's Oscars.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know if it's nominated for sound. But either way,
here we are.
This is an established guy. He's been around the block.
So, where do we finish the talking bit and get to the movie watching bit? Do we have anything else to talk about? Because I want to watch the movie.
I get it. I had one other fun fact for you. So back before this movie was picked up by Netflix, when Guillermo del Toro was first trying to cast for it and figure it out, the creature he originally cast for Doug Jones.
That's not a name I know.
No, but it is a person you'd probably recognize. So this guy is like a frequent collaborator with Guillermo del Toro. He was in Pan's Labyrinth as the hand-eye guy. Because he is very tall and sort of well known as a non-human character actor. Yeah. He's a contortionist, mime type actor.
I do love that there are a handful of people
monsters who
play the big monster roles.
So it's interesting to know that was the original vision and then it ended up going to... I just thought that was an interesting pivot.
I wonder if it was he'd originally pitched for this in the early thousands, and now 20 years later, and old mate's
Doug Jones is not spry enough. Maybe I don't exactly know the timeline, but I do think that those would have made very different films. Even having not seen this one yet, Jacob Elordi and Doug Jones just do not aside from both being quite tall. They don't fit the same.
I mean, maybe Jacob Elordi is moving away from iPhone face, young, attractive actor, and he's moving into the, decrepit, put me in a full monster suit. I mean,
I don't think so.
You just cover up the face. The actor who played the, alien creatures in Alien was this, tall guy.
Yeah.
And, aside from a few moments where you see, a humanoid leg occasionally, you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell what lurked beneath.
Well, let's see just how creaturely Jacob Elordi can be, and let's watch us some Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
First, we find ourselves witnessing a daring rescue of a man from the ice near the North Pole. Pursued by a man-like creature, Victor is given shelter on a ship and proceeds to tell his tale. Long ago, his mother dies giving birth to a younger brother, which inspires him to pursue an alternative form of scientific method. Intent on curing death, Victor begins reanimating corpses to little effect. But with one wealthy benefactor, Victor brings his vision to life, building a man from various bodies. But the creature lacks intelligence, or so Victor believes. Frightened of its strength, he burns down his laboratory, believing the creature to have died in the blaze. But the creature's story continues. Escaping to a forest, he lives as a recluse in a mill of a family farm. But after a disastrous incident with some local wolves, the creature is injured and discovers he cannot die from even grievous injuries. Returning to his creator, he confronts Victor, demanding a companion that shares his affliction. Refusing, the two enter into a long and arduous cat-and-mouse chase, which culminates on the ship where they share their stories. Mediating their differences, Victor dies from his injuries. Leaving the ship, the creature is alone once more. Here's some deeper thoughts on the matter.
I think it's important to state, right at the top, that this film was significantly different from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
And in its differences, the very few likenesses, there were a couple of lines or bits of text or quotes from the book that made it into the film, that because it had been so fundamentally changed, did not work. And I take issue with it.
Yeah.
The most egregious one, there are others, but the most egregious one is at the end in the cave, or just outside of the cave, where Dr. Frankenstein has chased down his creation, and his creation breaks his nose and says, "You might be my creator, but I will become your master."
Yeah.
That quote in the book is way more important, because that's when Frankenstein's creation begins to effectively haunt him, kill his brothers, kill everyone he loves, torment him for effectively robbing him of death and companionship. And instead of killing him, Frankenstein's creation instead goes, "You know what? I'll show you that there is a fate as bad as death, and you'll have to suffer through it. For as long as you do not secede to my will, this is what's going to happen. But he delivers that line and then immediately begins running. He was a master of shit.
In the book, I'm pretty sure Dr. Frankenstein actually does start building him a companion for a bit because he is so frightened of all the vengeance that the creature is meting out.
Well, because he kills his little brother.
Yeah.
So, and
his friend, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot anyway, so I think I just wanted to, need to say at the beginning that in the preamble, we talked about what fans we are of Mary Shelley and how excited we were about this adaptation. And I think we need to let that go almost immediately because otherwise we could spend the entire review talking about how it wasn't the same as the book.
So, and suffice to say, it wasn't the same as the book, wasn't even remotely close to the book. It's so far distracted from any reminiscence of the book that my disappointment, I'm just going to put it up in a little bottle and it'll come out when we score this thing later. Yeah.
So let's think about it as its own entity, if you will, its own creature.
Yeah.
I thought it looked really nice. It was very visually interesting. I was very impressed by the makeup of the creature.
I wasn't actually that impressed by the makeup of the creature. To me, it just looked like they'd gotten like a bodysuit, like a morph suit, and like stitched some cool lines onto it and made it pretty seamless.
Oh, that's not how it looked to me.
Yeah. There were a few scenes certainly where like the light caught a very fabricy effect across the large in like the under bit where he's like in the basement and he's shackled. There's one time where the sun is shining on the creature's back and it just looks like fabric.
I didn't see that.
It was a very hard thing for me to shake that it was just like a person in a morph suit that was like slightly adapted. The facial makeup was kind of cool. And the costume at the end where he has the big cloak and, is covered in the sheepskins or the wolf skins or whatever he's wearing. That is a cooler costume. But I didn't think the like naked monster seams looked that impressive.
Okay.
Hard take from me, I guess. The makeup artists who slaved on it. It's not a morph suit, it's real makeup.
I think it is, but I'm not sure. We can agree to disagree. That's fine. Yeah. I don't, that's the point of a review. People have different thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
Look, I think it was a good story. Like thinking about it, if it was its own original thought, right?
It had. I
think it's an interesting, well put together storyline. I think that it's unfortunate that it couldn't have been more like the original, but now thinking about it, you know how we talked about Guillermo del Toro originally wanting to make like a trilogy, like,
Yeah.
I think that this movie is the result of him not being able to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I make this very in-depth book into one movie? You kind of have to, I'm hypothesizing here on what the thought process was.
Yeah.
I have to make this a much more linear and predictable storyline.
Yeah, like you need to cut out whole sections of it. And I get that.
You might say this storyline was Frankenstein. That's somehow, that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it took very small bits, the Theseus's ship of Frankenstein story, and then put a bunch of kind of other storytelling, like very traditional storytelling, on over the top, and then a little cherry.
There was plenty to like in the story that we did get shown. Like, for example, Poe Dameron did a great job.
Oh yeah,
Oscar Isaac did a great job.
Poe Dameron is so funny.
It was really hard for me not to see Poe Dameron, if I'm honest.
I didn't. I thought I thought he did a good job of embodying the mad. I almost wanted him to get a bit more mad looking. Yeah,
well, that's what I mean. Poe Dameron is kind of this like hotshot, good-looking ace pilot, and he never, even when he looks bad, like he's all like scuffed up, he still somehow manages to look like Poe Dameron. And that's what I'm saying with this guy. Frankenstein Victor managed to get into all kinds of worlds of hurt, but he still had that just like beautiful,
rugged looking,
rugged, handsome face going on. Maybe you can't cover that up. Maybe if you have Oscar Isaac,
to ugly up Oscar Isaac is what we've learned.
That's maybe what's happened here.
God, I'm going to immediately break my own rule and say that in the book he's meant to be so sick and ill looking from his work.
Well, I mean,
an integral part.
You brought it up, but again, they talk about how his father didn't favor him because of his like weak and ill-conceived manner. Like, but this whole time he's like speaking with like confidence and charisma. Like he speaks to a whole class of people at this thing.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, the whole idea, that's what I mean. Like there's just the disconnect of them trying to pick parts of the story that Mary Shelley wrote so well and write that into dialogue and then do something that is completely at odds with that.
Right.
Bothers me. I think I would have rathered it had they not bothered to, because that whole book is a gem and they've picked out some gem parts of it and just studded it on. It's like, well, this doesn't belong here.
No.
If they had made Victor Frankenstein this charismatic doctor who was mad with passion, that's cool. Don't bring up the line how your dad doesn't like you because you're weak-willed and indecisive.
Make it so your dad doesn't like you just because you're a creep.
Yeah.
Not that you lack confidence. And also, look, I didn't really understand like the first bit of the story where he's at the medical school that doesn't gel really with the story in my mind. It doesn't make sense because he's driven by this. He's obviously super scarred from like his mother's death and all of that.
Yeah, and the implication that his father may have killed her.
Or at least let her die, right?
Right.
Well, equivalent to, yeah.
And like even if he didn't, it was certainly the medical professions of the era, not as advanced as they let on.
A little bit barbaric at times.
And save the baby instead of the mother was certainly the modus operandi of the
heir, right?
Like exactly.
For sure. I thought the introduction of the character Christoph Waltz, I can't remember his name. It's like Headley or something. I don't know. The guy that his benefactor.
Yeah. Elizabeth's uncle, who has syphilis and is dying. Yeah. Is revealed. I thought that was really interesting. Totally new. That was really good. That was in place of Victor's friend, and I think was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
To keep him going and like keep him driven. And I liked that part of the story. It was good. That was a good adaptation.
Totally new. Totally new storyline, but a good addition or a good change.
Yeah.
Not like better than the original, but just it worked in the context of this film.
Yeah.
And I mean, Christoph Waltz is an amazing actor, so it worked really well because he's great.
It was standout. Is he? I assume he's nominated for supporting actor.
No. Let's discuss those nominations.
Yeah.
Before we get too crazy. So, first of all, it's nominated for Best Picture. That's why we're here at all.
I don't think it's going to win it.
I don't think so either.
Which is a shame. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's...
It's not a shame. There's 10 movies. 9 of them aren't going to win. You know what I mean? Like, it got nominated. That is in and of itself...
Like, just off the cuff, I enjoyed Sinners more, and I think One Battle After Another is...
A better made film.
A better made film for Best Picture.
Sure. I think this is actually wild. There is no leading actor nomination. Oscar Isaac did not get that nom.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting because I think he did a pretty good job.
I agree. I don't know, like, thinking about the difference between him, Leo, and Michael B. Jordan. Those are our three... So far. It's like, he did a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I guess they can only nominate 5, right? So...
And now we've only seen 2, so... The others, I guess we'll see whether we think that someone else should have not gotten the nom versus Oscar Isaac.
And I wonder if at some level it has been pulled down a notch or two because it's a Netflix film, not a Hollywood film.
Possibly. I mean, that's like the politics of nominations, right? And also, I mean, like, you got to imagine that there's every single time that Oscar nominations come out, there is a certain element of, well... What genres do people gravitate towards? What kind of performances do people reward or think is especially impressive and all of that kind of stuff? It's all, I mean, it can't be objective. It's super subjective.
So, didn't make it to Best Actor?
No. We did get a Jacob Elordi supporting actor nom, though.
That's fair. In Guillermo del Toro's version of Frankenstein, his creation, played by Jacob Elordi, is really well done. I mean, we were talking about it at several points in several different scenes, how challenging that must have been, and he did a really good job of it. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique role in that you essentially have to try and embody this, like, baby animal vibe of, like, learning and exploring a new body and the fear and naivety and innocence and confusion and all of that goes into it. And like, that's not just an emotional act, that's a physical act.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's like big and bulky, or not bulky, big and lanky almost, like, because he's got the long limbs. Like, that's, you know, what Dr. Frankenstein was looking for.
Yeah.
And so all of that was a challenge that I think he met, you know?
Yeah. It was good. And the vocal parts are also really interesting. Obviously, they start to enhance it with those sub-bass tones at the end, which sort of, I think you mentioned while we were watching the credits that it was almost more fantastical than science fiction.
Right.
So kind of wish they hadn't done that.
Well, even throughout the whole thing, I mean, again, harping on the differences between the story and the OG, but his Wolverine-esque healing, and I know that in the book he does have strength and speed and all these things that are greater than human ability, but in the movie it's like amplified, I feel like, to beyond even that.
To hold a stick of dynamite and
survive.
Yeah.
Like, and not even be dead for a bit, but just like, you know, to heal in like a day. Right? Like,
shrug it off.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And I think that changes the character a lot for me.
Yeah.
Makes it a very different entity, creature, you know?
But still well acted by Jacob Elordi.
Still well acted, yeah. We don't have any actress or supporting actress noms at all.
Yeah, I kind of see that. Elizabeth didn't really have too many scenes or lines to really explore the depth of that character.
Yeah, I mean, they almost made more of her character in this than she is in the book. Or at least very different.
Very different, yeah.
Very different. Yeah.
Well, because
it's so hard not to make
comparisons, because that's what we know. When I say in this, her character felt quite unshaped, like two-dimensional, with maybe a dog ear on it, is because she just sort of felt like this set piece that, and we're going to introduce this character, and Victor's going to be immediately enamored with her, and that's going to be an avenue for him to be distracted and make mistakes. But it doesn't actually really come to anything. And her input into it, where she brings back the butterfly and talks about the symmetry, which is his sort of eureka moment, literally jumping out of a bathtub naked to switch two polars around. It just felt like she was a vehicle to deliver that line.
It fell flat, for sure.
And it really fell flat. And like, not due to Mia's acting. I just think it wasn't a well-written role.
She did a fine job.
Yeah.
I think, she did feel like a vehicle of a character, whether it was to show it was like Victor's weakness.
Yeah.
Or, of course, to be like the creature can be soft when shown softness.
Yeah.
That was kind of, you know, and then she dies and that's it.
Yeah. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
I don't know about the Bechdel test, but it's not feeling strong. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I'm not surprised there's no noms there just on that basis alone. So we have nominations for cinematography, which I think that's fair.
That is fair.
There was some good looking shots in there.
It was a good looking movie.
Yeah, no,
top to bottom.
Good
looking movie.
Yeah. Costume design. Again, not a surprise. We had some pretty cool costumes. Mia Goth had some cool costuming.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Creations outfit aside, everyone's costuming was really spectacular. Mm-hmm. The wedding fits. Come on, I mean, like Victor, we don't like him at this point, but that like white crop jacket he had. Come on, that was awesome. That was great. So costuming was really spectacular.
Yeah, very cool costuming. All around, no director nom.
Woof.
Yeah.
That's yikes. But I mean, I get it, right? Because he's cut this thing together and it's a monster and the Academy's gone, what have you done? It's unholy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's the most nominated film so far, as in, like, obviously this is 3. But if I'm looking at them, right, I've got them in front of me in a list of from most nominated down in the best picture category. And we've got Sinners and One Battle After Another, both nominated, then there's not, and then the next 3 are, and that's the 5 directors.
Yikes.
So it feels snub-like in that regard, just because it kind of is this blank spot. But I think this got the same amount of noms as Marty Supreme.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Look, like you said, not everyone can be nominated.
And it is the way this story is put together, that lies heavily on the shoulders of the director.
Yeah.
So and the writer, and guess who the director.
To him in like a non-judgmental, like, so he didn't feel judged, because I think he did a good job. Like, it wasn't a bad film, just to be clear. I think that I would have enjoyed this more if I had no knowledge of the source material.
Oh yeah,
absolutely,
100%. If we weren't Mary Shelley stans.
Yeah. I wish I could talk to him and ask him, what would you have done differently if given essentially unlimited resources and everything?
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued by that. Because, you know, even going back to the thought that Doug Jones was meant to be the OG creature, that's a very different creature.
Yeah.
Than Jacob Elordi is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
What I also want to know is, like, Guillermo del Toro has had this idea for a while now.
Right.
How long has he sat on this screenplay? Because he might have made minor adjustments to it, but it might have been a magnum opus of sorts. Like, he's had this that he might have tweaked it on and off for 20 years. And so his idea of what he wanted the film to be might not be related to the original Mary Shelley story, but actually might be more of an homage to the original Frankenstein films.
Maybe.
Which I would feel that this is more closely aligned to.
I haven't seen any of the Frankenstein movies made prior to this. So.
Yeah, I know their story because I've read, after we read Frankenstein, I read about how different the stories were of the movies. Mm-hmm. So I haven't seen them, but they were very much more like along these lines.
Okay. So no nomination for film editing. Again, I'm not super surprised. We do have nominations for original score, which was good.
Really good, actually.
The guy that we talked about at the beginning, and the whimsy was there.
And yeah, I mean, we had that one moment. When was it? When he was assembling?
He's assembling. He's like chopping and slicing and dicing, and it's
peeling.
It's a great dichotomy, right? Of this like pretty gruesome, horrific imagery,
visceral.
But it's like also in beautiful, bright colors, like very, visually pleasing in that regard, like color-wise.
Yeah.
And then this whimsical undertone to accompany his horrific scientific abomination.
There was a really good amount of strings, and I think it's quite interesting how different instruments play into different genres. So like in one battle after another, we had that piano that was really keeping us on edge. That was really good for that tension. But in this, where we were after a different kind of tension, we had a lot of strings, a lot of violins. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was whimsical and sometimes it was stressful.
Yeah, for sure. But a good job overall, for sure. Production design nomination.
I reckon it might win for score.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because all three that we've watched so far are nominated for score. The other two are Hamnet and Begonia, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
You think it'll win for score over Sinners?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, Sinners' score is good, but I think this is more like Academy vibes. You know what I mean?
Intriguing. Now, I think it might win production design.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the tower and the gothic settings that we got.
And all the cool, like, gothic punk technology.
I kept pointing out the motif of the red, which obviously begins at the beginning with his mother and then is seen throughout in all these different ways. I thought that was honestly one of my favorite things of the movie, was the way that they kept this motif. I don't know how intentional it was in certain parts, but it felt very motif-y. Motif-esque.
Yeah. Look, it'll be toe-to-toe with Sinners, for sure. Because, like, Sinners obviously had a similar world that they had to build. I think this was at a much larger scale. Mm-hmm. And it didn't feel like they compromised on quality at all. So.
Yeah, the laboratory and all that was really cool.
Very cool.
Also nominated for sound, which the creature's roars and stuff feels like kind of where that shines.
Yeah, the creature's roars, all of the laboratory machines, the little squelches and other Foley effects from the...
There was a lot of squelchy Foley, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of watermelons getting stabbed, I assume. I don't know how Foley works. Now, this is also nominated for adapted screenplay, much like One Battle After Another, which I don't think it should win that.
I hope it doesn't, but maybe it will. Go read a book, guys.
And then, pretty unsurprisingly, it is nominated for makeup and hair, much like Sinners as well.
I think Sinners will beat it on makeup and hair.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know about that. I think you're being personally, I think you're being quite harsh.
I am being harsh.
And I think that this was pretty cool, but I guess we'll see. You know, we're going to draw up our own ballots and we can make our either predictions or desires, what we want to win. And I don't know.
It's like fantasy football, but for the Oscars.
Yeah, basically. And the winner gets what? Pride? Glory?
Yeah. Bragging rights.
So look, it was not quite what I wanted it to be. I still enjoyed it, but I'm definitely not walking away like wow, that was the book I really liked brought to screen, which is what I was hoping for.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping for too.
Yeah. I would still recommend it, especially if you like a good kind of monster sci-fi feel.
And especially if you haven't read the book. If you haven't read the book, this is a good film. You will enjoy it
first. and then I would recommend reading the book, I guess. Or just do one or the other.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. They're pretty different.
They're very different.
So it's like, in some ways, you can enjoy them both separately with that knowledge, but don't expect one to be the other. Yeah. And that's unfortunately what we walked into it with, which I think has impacted our enjoyment a lot.
Now, this film was 2.5 hours, just about.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite feel like it was dragging that long. The pacing was pretty good.
Yeah, I think look, I obviously have a bit of a...
preference for shorter films?
Yeah, not crazy short. I think something in the 2 hour, up to 2 hours, 10 minutes for me is a good length film.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I'm like, this could have been 2 films. No.
This meeting could have been an email.
Yeah. I don't think that much could have been cut from it, but I do think some bits were like, okay. And maybe that's part of it because I was waiting for certain things to happen. So I was a bit like, okay, where is this going? Because I know the plot already.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There wasn't anything that really felt like it dragged on too long. They didn't linger on any particular scene. We're like, okay, we get the point.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? There might have been scenes where they were totally irrelevant, could have been cut. For example, when he's in town and he's at the gallows and they get a prisoner, presumably for him to do experiments on, but that doesn't show up anywhere.
Sure.
That we don't see that prisoner again. That prisoner isn't...
Well, he gets the body, not the prisoner.
Huh?
He got a bunch of bodies, not the live prisoner.
Oh.
He was just saying which bodies he wanted.
Oh, okay.
Because he said this one's got a strong back, so he's going to use the back on that one.
Right, sorry. I misunderstood. I thought that he was going to get the...
No.
Right.
The scenes that I thought weren't necessary and, well, not entirely not necessary, but I think they could have gotten the point across that Victor had a thing for Elizabeth without... You didn't necessarily need the confessional scene or the dancing scene. You can just make it much more subtle. You know what I mean? But that's just a personal opinion. Mostly because it doesn't lead to anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like he makes a bid for her hand at the wedding or anything. It's a bit of a nothing. So it's why spend the earlier time in the film making it seem like it's going to be this hill he dies on.
And it doesn't really add anything to his depth of character because this Victor is already so wishy-washy about what he wants and believes, which, to be fair, is kind of true to the original Victor Frankenstein, who is kind of wishy-washy about what he wants and believes.
But he's mostly just obsessed with his work.
Yeah.
And then immediately super regretful and spends the rest of his life running away from it. Yeah. So it's that's kind of the pinnacles of his storyline. So putting several scenes into his oh, this woman's kind of rad.
Yeah.
I don't know. That to me didn't feel super necessary by the end of the film.
If her inspiration had been more she rocks up, and because she is a woman of science to some degree, right? She's into bugs is what I picked up from
anatomy and the physical nature of things.
Yeah. From the 4 lines that they gave her, that's what I picked up. It would have been kind of cool if instead of her giving him this idea by breaking his heart or I don't know whatever. It would have been kind of cool if she'd rocked up with the butterfly and had demonstrated to him where he's going wrong and be like, no, you have made some incorrect assumptions here. Consider the butterfly. And then busted out some cool nerd science shit. And then he's like, aha, and then turned his back on her to ignore her because his passion is this project. And then she's like, oh, I get it. I thought we had a thing, but I see now that it is.
But see, that totally changes the character of her, you know. Her whole point is that she's not into him. She's made her choice, and I don't know. It's her character not well developed, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. For example, that would have been more interesting than him having a naked Eureka moment. But I guess it's Mr. Del Toro's opinion of how it should have been done.
The whole dynamic is so vastly different because in the book, she's his adopted sister. So it's all so much more gritty and weird and I don't know.
And she's not betrothed to be wed to his brother.
No, they're meant to get married.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway. And she doesn't fall in love with the...
We said at the start we'd stop kidding.
Sorry, I know. It's just...
I was so excited at the start.
The disappointment is palpable, and I think that's obvious.
Yeah.
So let's rate it before we're almost at an hour. You want to go first?
No. You can go first. I went first last time.
Okay. Let's see how it is. I rate Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein a 7.5 syphilis wigs out of 10.
I rate Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein 6 sticks of dynamite out of 10.
Whoa. Them's fighting words.
And that's heartbreak showing through. And I think I could find it in my heart to forgive and forget, and to hold Mr. Del Toro's hand and say, Father, I forgive you. And then give him the monster as well to bring it up to 7. And then you know what? Because the monster pushed the boat at the end and that was kind of satisfying, 7.3.
Is that your final score?
That's my final score.
7.3.
I had to say 6 sticks of dynamite because that's how many sticks of dynamite he buys, but he only uses 1.
That's true. Well, I think we've said our piece. We would love to know your thoughts on Frankenstein if you've seen it. And also, if you have seen it, have you read the book? And do you feel as we do?
Like you've been wronged, like you've been robbed and stolen from?
Or do you think this is the best adaptation that could possibly be adapted?
I definitely couldn't.
Next episode, we will be almost certainly reviewing Marty Supreme, as it is the next on our list. That will be number 4 in our Oscars 2025 series.
And there might be a little surprise as well.
We'll keep that up our sleeve for next time. But until then...
don't do any grave robbing.
Or mad science. Talk at you next time.
Till next time.
This episode of the Better Late Than Never Club is brought to you by our patrons. Alex, Christopher, Lindy, Matthew, Nathan, and Rachel.
And also our members, Aimless, Andrew, Elizabeth, Raina, Salty Pond, and Simon.
Thank you for listening.